All right, welcome back. This is a video based on Module 2, Lesson 5, the Fibonacci tool. In this trading model, the Fibonacci tool has three major uses: measuring premium to discount arrays, finding entry levels, and determining how far price is going to move in terms of entry projections, right? So the single most important tool in this trading model, the Fibonacci tool, just helps in sort of tying together your whole trading idea at the end, starting from the 4-hour chart downwards. On the 4-hour chart, like I mentioned previously, I like to look for my premium to discount areas. It's a higher time frame where price can be a little bit more shifty in comparison to the other higher time frames like the daily and the weekly. And from there on, going downwards on the 15-minute chart where I like to take my entries, I measure out entry points. And for a newer one that you're just hearing right now, entry projection, standard deviation, entry projections, all right? So I'll hop into the chart and show you exactly what I mean by these. I would show you my Fibonacci settings and you can set yours up too. All right, so let's go to the chart right now. All right, so this is the USD CAD 15-minute chart. And to sort of piggyback off the last video where I sort of had a list of everything you need to see in order to take a trade entry. So let's just piggyback off that. We can see right here, we just swept a 4-hour swing high. We swept that. I'd been waiting for that sweep all day, and it finally made it there. So the manipulation move for that day took a while. P power 3 manipulation, accumulation, manipulation, and distribution, but manipulation on this particular day took a while. It didn't take too long in the day, given that it fell inside of New York Q zone, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. New York time. That is when that sweep happened. So I was locked and loaded to sort of get my entry. So before I do that, I grab my Fibonacci tool to sort of give me precise entry points. So let me just draw that up here. Swing high to swing low. But this is not my entry. This is the 50%. It just shows you how versatile the Fibonacci tool is. I have templates. If I click on settings, if I scroll down a little bit, I have sort of templates. This is the 50% that helps me sort of gauge my premium to discount areas, but that is not what I'm looking for right here. I want you to take a screenshot of this right here. Take a screenshot of all the standard deviations and set yours to those two. I don't use everything here though. I only have few levels there that I use. For this templates, you can see the 0.5. That is the half of a push or a lag, the 50%, the equilibrium, a push or a lag. But in this case, I want to use my entry levels. This is going to change really quickly. Golden zone entry level area 0.705, 0.709, 0.62. If I were to turn this, all of these on, you will see what the Fibonacci looked like. In fact, I'm going to do that so you just
see what it looks like, right? I'm going to turn all of these on. I'm sure there's a button to turn them on all at once, but let's just do this.
all of these on, okay? Look at what it looks like, you know. There's a lot going on, you know. There's a lot of levels, a lot of standard deviations right there. And it also shows the price that it comes with up to, goes right down to, wow, it goes down quite low, to minus 7.5, minus 7.5. I'm sure there are uses for that, but in this trading module, I only need a few. Keep things simple, keep things simple and basic. Right, so for the fifth, oh my God, I'm going to have to do, no, I don't have to do that again. 50%, the 0.5, but in this case, I need the ones for entry level. So just take a screenshot of this, okay? This is what you'll be needing to get your entries. These are the levels that you need. They are also referred to as the golden zones, golden levels. All right. So yeah, your entry points, you can see right there when I measured from the body of the candle. Remember, you want to measure from the body of the lag that broke structure. You can see right there, we have a break of structure. We have a candle body close below structure. And it came with what's the most beautiful fair value gap right there. Let me just mark that out so you see. It came with the most beautiful fair value gap right there. I like to use the gray. The most beautiful fair value gap right there. This is a situation. If I turned on the 0.5, if I hold on, if I use, yeah, I'm going to, let me do that. I turned on the 0.5, you would see that the fair value gap and this also sat above equilibrium, right? So it settles, this is an area above equilibrium, an area where price needs to get to before it can sell. I hope you are seeing everything tying right now. Price needs to sort of wick before it can sell. It's an algorithm. It's it has to do some certain things before it can move in certain directions, right? It's not going to sell from a discount here in this 15-minute lag from here to here. Price had to retrace back into a premium area before it sell. And that is basically what we take advantage of in terms of getting the most optimum trade entry. So what your short position now will look like, we are catching all those pips. We want that limits entry, so we can get the maximum profit, right? So you set your stop loss to a safe zone, the high of that lag, and then I typically go for a 2-to-1. But how can you determine, apart from my back testing, knowing that I will always get a 2-to-1 90% of the time, how can you determine how far price is going to go, right? How do you determine how do you, well, we don't want to be greedy. Greedy is the enemy of trading, right? But how can you systematically determine how far price is going to move, right? That's where our standard deviation projections come in, and it's also with our Fibonacci tool that we determine that, right? But we don't use the lag that broke structure or created the fair value gap. We use a different range, and in a selling scenario, it's the push that made it up to a predetermined institutional area, institutional level. In this case, it's a 4-hour high. It could be a fair value gap, or it could be another block. But the last push on the time frame that you are taking your entry, the last push that made it up there, and also determine that, and also a push that took out a short-term high. In this case, if it was a buying scenario, it would have been a short-term low. So we took out that short-term high right there. Takes out a short-term high, the push that takes out a short-term high, and the one that makes it into a predetermined level, predetermined array, predetermined PD array, to determine institutional level, like a fair value gap, a 4-hour swing high, or an order block, right? So for getting our entry projections, we'll be working with this lag. And in this case, in this scenario, let me just highlight that. Let me make a different color. In this scenario, you want to be using the wick. For entry, we use the body of the range that broke structure and created the fair value gap. For entry, for SD, standard deviation projection, determining how far price is going to go, you use this push that took out a short-term high and a predetermined level, determine institutional level, in this case, a 4-hour high. And you want to be using the wicks and not the body. So I grab my Fibonacci tool, measure from here, say here. Let me push that out. Right here, this is not the template that I need right now. Standard deviation projections right there. I want you to take a screenshot. This is the one that's for this trading model. These are the ones that matter. These are the ones that you can expect price to make it to. So you pause the video, take a quick screenshot. All right. Okay, right there. Let me just make sure that's aligned perfectly. Right there. Right there. Okay. So we have the -1 standard deviation, we have the -2 standard deviation, and we have the -2.5 standard deviation. You can always expect price to make it there. And even more so when they fall or line up with an institutional level, like a swing low, a fair value gap. It could be on the time frame that you're taking your trade on, or a higher time frame fair value gap. Once they line up with those, you can't expect price to make it there. So say your trading plan, your trading style was to always use standard deviation projections. I always want to go for 2-to-1s. I'm most profitable that way. But if you wanted a more you wanted a direction, you wanted a more systematic way to do this, you can use your standard deviation projections. A -1 right there. Look how it lines up with a swing low on the 15-minute time frame, right? This was not an exaggerated sell for that day because we had a lot of activity in London session. We had price moving, manipulation that took a while. So this is what was not an exaggerated day, and price just slowed down for the rest of the day. Give us that New York trade. Give us that New York trade, and then just fizzled out for the rest of the day, giving us a very narrow Asian range for the next day. All right. But if you go on higher time frame, the 4-hour time frames, where we made all our predictions from, our higher time frame analysis from, you can see you can spot a fair value gap there. Can spot, I'm just going to make this a different color. You can see you can spot a 4-hour fair value gap there, right there. Don't know if you can see what I'm looking at, but yeah, let me stretch that out. That is a fair value gap right there. You can see that. So price moved from external liquidity to internal liquidity, and that gave me a perfect setup on the 15-minute chart. The 15-minute time frame gave me a perfect 2-to-1. But watch peep how price makes it to the other standard deviations before it did anything else. Makes it there first. Even if you are the type that can hold out trades into the next day. I typically don't like to hold out trades. I want to see my take profit hit. If it goes too late in the day, I just close all my positions. But there's nothing wrong with holding trades. There's a lot of traders that have been in the market for a long time, very experienced people, and they hold out their trades, and there's nothing wrong with that. It makes it to that -2 standard deviation, -2.5 standard deviation, and they all fall into a fair value gap. A fair value gap. We fall into this 4-hour fair value gap right there. So at least for the -2 standard deviation, you can expect it to make it to consequent encroachment of that fair value gap. This is another situation where I can use my Fibonacci, but in this case, I will be using the 0.5 to sort of figure out my consequent encroachment of this fair value gap. So you can go with these two. It sits above consequent encroachment of this fair value gap. Right? So if you wanted to hold that trade into the next day, you could have done this. Right? But my own trading plan is to always go for 2-to-1s. So yeah. Sometimes the standard deviation projections comes in play. I use it in some cases, but not all the time. But it's also a handy tool that you can have in your arsenal, right? Okay, so that's it for that. Now I want to show you how I use it on higher time frame to determine my discount to premium areas, right? my discount to premium in the 4-hour lag or push. Before this trade, if you look back, just look to the left, you can see this 4-hour lag. So that is a situation where I'll be using the 0.5 that we have that template up already. Right away, you can see that price was in the premium area. And when you are in a premium area, you want to sell. So justified why I took a sell for that day. Prices at a premium. It had a lot to do on the downside. Had this fair value gap, this huge exaggerated fair value gap. This is a basic candle. And for a basic candle, I expect price to at least make it to consequence encroachment, right in the middle of the imbalance, the inefficiency, the fair value gap. If you know, it's the same thing. Inefficiency, imbalance, fair value gap. I expect price to make it to the consequent encroachment of that. But if you see this right here, if you've been in the market for a while, you can determine that this is news. This was caused by news. This directional shift, this volatility was caused by news. So price did not get the chance to balance out this push right here before it continued. But that was what I was working on. There's also another tool I like to use. It also has the function of sort of giving you a graphical representation of your premium to discount arrays area. So from that wick, it also goes to mention that it's very important for me to mention that when you are looking for your premium to discount arrays in this situation in 4-hour chart, you also use the wick. So for standard deviation projections, you want to use the wick. For 4-hour time frame, discount to premium areas, determining that you want to also use the wick of a push or a lag, right? To get the whole picture, to get the whole range, right? So you want to use the wick. This is also a handy tool. It's called the GAN box, and I set this up this way. I can have this on my chart and I can still see clearly everything that's going on because I faded it out this way. So that is another tool that you could use. Also very nice, very pretty. So that's basically it. You can rewind the video, see how I use it for entries, see how I use the Fibonacci tool for standard deviation projections, entries, and for determining my premium to discount areas on a push or a lag, right? And so I hope it's clear. I hope you got this. And I will see you in the next video. So yeah, thank you and goodbye.